Hare Krishna. So we are here in Launceston, Tasmania, and we're going to do an reinitiation, technically, for a person up till now known to the world as Padma Devi Dasi, originally from Sweden, been living in Australia for how many years?
45.
A mere 45 years, so she's a relative newcomer here. And Padma's done a lot of service for how many years? You've been actually here.
30.
There's Padma. Been serving Prabhupada mission for 30 years, based in New Govardhan up till now, and she holds a PhD in
Consciousness studies.
Consciousness studies.
Yeah, it's in physics, consciousness, psychology.
Yes, and considering doing another degree program. So she requested that I initiate her. I think that's the technical word, because her guru is a very nice devotee. Sort of had a change of career. So we're going to start with a little kirtan. I guess no one's watching right now. I guess this will be seen later, because I don't think anyone is. Anyway, Nandali will take care of this later. So I thought we'd do a little kirtan. They have one little pair of kartals there. Oh, and the other devotees are here. We can show everybody here. There is, we have my disciple Ajita, who's the president of New Govardhan. Smile. One of the most successful temple presidents in the Western world. Steve and Anna. Anna, who are going to open a Krishna conscious program near Hobart, Tasmania.
Good.
And then last but not least, my disciple Jayasita, who many of you know from Puerto Rico. So, unfortunately, I'm having to broadcast this from another Facebook account, because the one I always use somehow didn't work. Let's send a little note to Ananda Leela in case it's in the middle of the night, but in case she happens to get up. So, we're going to start with this, as Prabhupada always would start the initiation ceremonies, with a little kirtan that I would chant. So, these are called kartals. For those of you in Krishna Fest, these are called kartals, the little musical instruments. Actually, the secret of playing kartals nicely is to not hit them, but just let one fall on the other. Then you get a sweet sound. That's not a sweet sound. Mm-hmm. And Prabhupada somehow or other liked my kartal playing. He was recording songs of the Vaishnava Acharyas in Los Angeles. And he asked me to play kartals. And he liked it very much, so he asked me to play kartals and other recordings. But it's, if you just let the kartals just sort of drop, it actually makes a sweet sound. If you apply pressure, it gets progressively less sweet and more threatening in terms of permanent hearing loss. So, Namo Vishnu Namo
Krishna Krishnaya Purvaya Srimati Bhakti
Namaste Saraswati Deve Bhagavani Prachardine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Asatya Vishadakarine
Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Prachardine
Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, So, I've explained actually many times about initiation. Diksha in Sanskrit, which we translate initiation, means a type of consecration. The word is used in the Bhagavatam in that sense as a consecration, preparation, purification, which leads up to an important event. So Diksha, people who would be Dikshita or initiated, for example, they're going to perform a great Vedic sacrifice or beget a sacred child or hopefully a godly child. The idea is that before an event in which a person will come directly in contact with God, or it's very important that the person appreciate and value and be prepared for an encounter with God in some sacred context, the preparation, which involves austerity and involves following certain principles, that preparation was called Diksha. So someone would be initiated into, in a sense, preparation for an encounter with the divine. And of course, with the rise of Krishna consciousness in Indian history, when Lord Chaitanya, and even before Lord Chaitanya, there was sort of a, Krishna always prepares his descent. So before Krishna personally comes, he prepares history. Things happen preparing for him to come. And so with the revival of bhakti as the most powerful spiritual expression in India, and the understanding of the correct understanding of Bhagavad Gita, that one should ultimately give oneself to God fully and dedicate one's life to Krishna. That understanding, the encounter with the Supreme, became not merely in the context of a fire sacrifice or some other ritual, or even ritual or sacralized procreation, but it became understood that ultimately one has to come eternally into contact with Krishna, come back into touch with Krishna, that one should give one's whole life to Krishna. And not only this life, but one should give, as a soul, one should give oneself eternally to the Supreme Soul. And so with that understanding, initiation takes on a new and much more powerful meaning, that you are being initiated into the practice of Bhakti Yoga, which will bring you into touch with Krishna in this life and prepare you to eternally live with Krishna in the spiritual world. So, Prabhupada established ISKCON, and of course the exact details of the initiation vow may vary, but the universal principle is, may vary among great acharyas, but the universal principle is that it has to be a spiritual practice which is not too difficult, so it doesn't become very elitist or simply out of reach for most people. And at the same time, it cannot be too easy so that people are not really getting that much benefit, not really becoming Krishna conscious. So Prabhupada, as a great acharya, calibrated all that, measured all that, and gave us an initiation vow, which is not too difficult, not too easy. Actually, the word devotee, the English word devotee, comes from the Latin devoto. The word voto in Latin is just Sanskrit brata, same word, which means a vow. So devoto, same in Spanish still, Portuguese, Italian, literally means one who lives by a vow. That's what the word actually means, devoto, one who lives by a vote. Like, we still have the word in English, like you vote for someone, which means you vow yourself to them, or to be a votary of someone. And a common praise in the Bhagavatam is a great soul or devotee is called Dridha Vrata, a person of firm vows. In other words, a person actually keeps their vow, that signs up for Bhakti Yoga and continues it throughout their life. So that's called many great souls, for example, Vyasdeva were called Dridha Vrata. They were firm in their vows. So that's the word devotee means. So in the act of making a vow, and especially in the act of keeping it, a person literally becomes a devotee. So, because otherwise everyone can say, I love God, but it's easy to say, a little harder to do. So, of course, in the case of Padma here, who is going to receive a new name, I usually leave that up to the individual devotees. Some devotees keep their name, and some devotees very much want to change it. So it's an individual thing. It's not that one position is better or more Krishna conscious than another. Just an individual, whatever works for somebody individually. So in this case, Padma will get a new name, for which, of course, obviously I've charged her extra. Just kidding. So the point here is, Krishna. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Anta, we still have in English, end, ant, end. At the end of many births. Bahunam means of many. Janmanam, births. Ante, at the end of many births. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. This is Bhagavad Gita 7:19. Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan, one who has knowledge, Mam Prapadyate, surrenders to me. The word surrender, of course, here is Prapadyate, which literally means approach, approaches me. But of course, as Prabhupada said, if you approach the sun, you become fire, and if you're not in the mood to become fire, don't approach the sun. So in the same way, Krishna is so powerful that if we approach Krishna, we become Krishnized because he's just so powerful like the sun. And so therefore, the fact that someone doesn't turn back, does not desist, means that as they're becoming Krishnized, they surrender to the process of becoming a devoted servant of Krishna. Because otherwise you have to turn back. So that's why the word prapadyate, which literally means approaches, goes to me, comes to mean surrender. To surrender to Krishna. So Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, at the end of many verses, Jnanavan, one who has knowledge, Mam Prapadyate, surrenders to me, approaches me, and Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Iti in Sanskrit means thus, but also means unquote. It's used at the end of a direct quotation. So, in this case, Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, the Iti puts this line, Vasudeva Sarvam, Vasudeva is everything, in quotation marks, so to speak. So this is what the person who's surrendering to Krishna, approaching Krishna, this is what the person is verbatim, literally saying or thinking. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. So that's what it means. So Vasudeva Sarvam, Vasudeva is everything, actually explains what it means to approach Krishna or surrender to Krishna. So when it says Bahunam Janmanam Ante, at the end of many births, Jnanavan, one who has knowledge, Mam Prapadyate, approaches me or surrenders to me, the next line explains what that surrender consists of. It consists of earnestly, sincerely declaring that Vasudeva is everything. And the fact that iti is used means, as a direct quotation, that the person is declaring it to themselves or to the world. They're not simply thinking, well, maybe that's the case, but they're actually committing themselves to it. Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Then, of course, Sa Mahatma, that great soul, Mahatma, that great soul, Sudurlabha, is very hard to find. It's very hard to find a great soul like that. Su means very. Also means good. It's exactly like, if you know Spanish, like the Spanish bien. Like you could say, él es bien malo. He is very bad. Like he's really bad. He's bien malo, but that bien can mean like very well. Like soy bien, I'm okay, I'm doing well. So Sanskrit su is like that. Yeah, su, it can mean good, as in sukriti, a good deed, or it can just mean very. Like that's really good and difficult. And so su dur is same as Spanish also, duro, hard. Es muy duro hacer eso, isn't it? It means it's very hard to do that. So same thing in Sanskrit, dur, like Duryodhana. Yodhana is fighter. So Duryodhana means it was hard to fight with him, or he was a dirty fighter. It can also mean that. But anyway, so sudur means very hard, lava, to find, to achieve, very hard to find that great soul, Samahatma Sudur Lava. So, if someone is initiated in Krishna consciousness, then it is supposed that the person has understood that Krishna is everything, and also has understood what that means. It doesn't mean that I am Krishna. It means that I am Krishna's energy. So Vasudeva Sarvam, Vasudeva is everything, means everything is Vasudeva's, apostrophe S, everything is his energy. And not just it's his because he bought it in a, I don't know, in a sort of a Atma flea market or something. So therefore I now belong to Krishna. It means that I belong to him in a much deeper sense because I'm part of him. As Krishna says, I believe in 15:7, Mamai Vangsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta. Jiva Bhuta, literally the living being. Jiva Bhuta. Sanatana, the eternal living being, is Mamaiva Angsha, is part of me alone. Part of me alone. Because obviously we're part of our families, countries, communities, everything. But ultimately, Krishna says, you're actually part of me. You're actually part of God. That's what you're really part of. And anything else we're part of is just derived from that. Because I'm part of Krishna and you are part of Krishna, therefore we can be friends, or people can belong to the same family. But the possibility of being part of something else, like family, community, club, the possibility comes from the fact that we are part of Krishna and the other person is part of Krishna. And therefore, because we're both part of Krishna, we can, it's possible for us to be part of a group to which we both belong. But ultimately, in the first instance, we're part of God. And that's the idea. So that's what initiation is really about. It's to, and signing on the dotted line, as they say, is meaningful. Like, for example, you can do business with someone for years and say, we don't need to sign a contract. But if it's a big order, for something that really, where there's a lot at stake, let's go ahead and sign a contract. People even sign prenups, prenuptial agreements. This is like a prenuptial agreement, but it's so when you sign, when you commit yourself formally, give your word, especially if you're, the old days, people took that very seriously, where they say, my word is my bond. That nowadays, of course, doesn't mean much. It just means it works for me now, and if tomorrow it doesn't work for me, I'll say something else. But for people who take themselves seriously, it's being selfish. Ironically, being selfish means the person doesn't take themselves seriously. because being selfish is so much against our rational self-interest. It's like in a relationship. If someone's a narcissist and they get married and they only think about themselves, it destroys the relationship. And if the narcissist, let's say, wants to be in that relationship or actually doesn't want to lose the other person, then that self-centeredness is actually self-destructive. So being selfish is not in our rational self-interest. Also because it's a grotesque distortion of reality. Reality is that we're all tiny souls. And that's kind of fun because when you understand that I'm a small soul and we become humble, I think I'm pretty humble. Just kidding. Anyway, when we truly become humble, it's just our own vanity doesn't get in the way of our wonderful experience because the universe or all of their souls, I mean, it's much bigger than we are. And so actually self-centeredness means that you are crippling yourself. You are condemning yourself to this tiny little world. Because the only world in which I'm really the center is microscopic, it's infinitesimal. I'm not the center of the real world out there, and the real world's actually more interesting. You know, it's interesting how in this world we take for granted because it's so natural that, yes, it's natural to be self-centered. It's natural to think of numero uno, it's to think of yourself, but actually it's not. Because, I mean, if you think about it, assuming that because you are yourself and, if you don't help yourself, who's going to do it? So assuming that it's natural to look out for oneself or to do what's best for oneself, what's best for us is to embrace reality. Reality is much more interesting than the claustrophobic little box of self-centeredness that people lock themselves in. So even if you're pursuing, or especially if you're pursuing your rational self-interest, and you want to do what's best for yourself, and you want to maximize your happiness and minimize your pain, emotional or physical, and just generally do what is absolutely best for you, it turns out what's best for us is to be at least a little humble and not vain and allow the whole world and God to come into our mind and heart. It turns out that's actually a lot more fun. It's much more interesting. It's a much better life. There's a lot more happiness in it. So selfishness is not in our self-interest. If you think about it, and people are so inclined to think it is, they take it for granted that if I just do what appears to be pleasing to me at the moment, that I'm serving my own interest, but they're not. They're actually condemning themselves to loneliness, suffering, etc., because that's the result of the, frankly, almost like psychotic delusion of self-centeredness. It's an emotional disorder. And a spiritual disorder but those are the same things. Because Krishna loves us and Krishna wants us to be healthy in every way. As long as we're down here in this amazing world, material world, Krishna wants us to be physically healthy as far as possible, mentally healthy, intellectually healthy, spiritually healthy especially. So Krishna consciousness means that you're always acting in your total self-interest, because it's never Krishna's desire for you to willingly harm yourself. In fact, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that austerities that actually damage the body are in the mode of ignorance. So selfishness is not in our self-interest. Selflessness actually turns out to be in our self-interest. Because the real world, as I said, is much more interesting and pleasurable than a crippled little world in which you climb into a black box called "It's all about me." It's actually a miserable, lonely, meaningless life. So anyway, so that's Krishna consciousness. Try to help others, try to help yourself in the best way. And initiation is, it means that someone's taking it seriously. And they want to formally commit to that. They're serious about it. That's all it means, really. So, any questions on these points? Oh, my pleasure. Just doing my job, trying to do my job. So now we'll proceed to the gala portion of our program. So I guess you should come forward, and if I say pay obeisances, people may think that, just in this for the money. So, I don't know if I should really ask you the principles. You're not a new devotee. You're actually a senior devotee.
I don't know whether that given you if you I don't know if you want to or if you don't want to, I don't know.
Well, actually, maybe if I put this here, everyone can see you too. There you are. They both down the screen. If you come around this way. So, whoops. It'd be terrible if I couldn't see myself. So, you know the principles. You do change 16
Would you like
hours.
to? Yes. Yes.
If you like, you can say them.
Right.
The Spirit's moving you to say them.
No gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex, and no meat eating. Yes.
And you do chant your rounds.
I did chant my rounds. Yes. I actually love chanting my rounds.
Okay, so a name which I think you will like after our discussion is Hladini. With the Russian, you want this.
Sure, but what do you think?
Yeah, it could be Hladini.
This pen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plain vanilla Hladini.
Yeah.
Devi
Thank
Dasi.
you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, and here are your beads, which I chanted on. So there's no questions from the Facebook people because there are no Facebook people because I have to do this on a different Facebook account because the usual one wasn't working. But I hope Nanda Leela, we all depend on, will get this posted for you. So thank you all very much. And I guess we'll end the live broadcast right now. Hare Krishna.